Okay, so we're on to our very last fireside chat. And we got Christian Ander here, who is the founder of BTCX. And we're going to be talking about Bitcoin.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think everyone in the tech world has kind of, I don't think anyone missed in the tech world what's been happening lately. So, I mean, Bitcoin is on fire. And I think as well, just the past few days, it's, I mean, I'm struggling to keep up. You know, it was, earlier this week, it was up at 7,800, close to 900. And then they had the cancellation of the hard fork.
Yeah.
And then now it dropped, and it's all, I mean, yeah, I am struggling. But either way, it's good that we have you here.
Thank you.
So, so we can kind of get an understanding of what's going on. So, I mean, to start off with, like, you got into cryptocurrency back in 2011.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know what Bitcoin was. I never heard it, never. So tell us your background.
Yeah, so I was actually here in Uppsala. I was doing a pre-PhD work at BMC, and during that time I found Bitcoin as a hobby project, and I started looking into it.
Good hobby.
Yeah. At the time it was, I mean, it was more or less worthless, less than, I don't know, 10 cents or something. But I like open source, and I've been thinking a lot about money recently, and I was like, yeah, why not? I want to look into this. And so I Googled a little bit about it, and I found a meetup in Stockholm in a basement. And at the time, I didn't dress like this. I was this typical computer nerd. And yeah, there was a lot of nerds doing open source. And
this is back in 2011, the basement kind of thing. And like, who was there? You know, how many people? I mean, it's.
Yeah, so it was like this, but not as high. It was no castle, but and there were maybe 20 people, but everyone was doing their own stuff. Some was hacking like an Atari or really old school computer, making all crazy stuff. So it was like I didn't have anything. Dream about it would be like it is.
No, it's a hobby that, you know. Yeah. So how did you so what happened since 2011 and today?
So I decided I want to explore this. So I quit my job here in Uppsala and actually got a startup funding from the government. And that was quite funny because I wanted to do something with the finance and to solve a problem that the banks weren't solving. So I got this person who was my handledare.
Guide, mentor.
To see if my business model was worth something. And he had just came from a bank meeting and was really angry with his bank. So when I told him, yeah, this will revolutionize the bank, and he was like, approved.
Done. He was done.
Yeah. So I got 6 months funding from the government.
Wow.
And then I just started playing with it, basically.
Then today, now you are.
So I started BTCX, which is Sweden's biggest Bitcoin broker exchange. So today we exchange more than 3 million euro a month. Wow. And we can also see that this area is growing. If you look at the buy and sell volume, it's 90% buy. So every month, just in the Swedish area, 3 million euros move from the old-fashioned fiat system to the crypto world. And most people invest in Bitcoin, but from there you have thousands of other tokens you can speculate with or bet on.
So for people like, you know, seems to be a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out right now. You know, we can see like 7 times up this year, Bitcoin. Yeah. And then now the past days, it's a bit of a roller coaster. So people are like, should I invest? Or I don't really know. what's happening?
I get that question every day. I mean, just today I had 10 people asking, should I invest? Is it too late?
Tell me now.
Yeah. And the thing is that question, I got it 1 year ago, I got it 2 years ago, I got it 3 years ago, and I would say no, it's never too late. Even when it is too late, Bitcoin will be the coolest financial system around. So even then, it will not be too late. Maybe you will get 1,000 in return on your investment, but it's definitely a train that you don't want to miss.
Okay.
But I wouldn't sell your house and buy Bitcoin.
No.
I mean, the founder of the Pirate Party, Rick Falkvinge, I mean, he basically sold everything he owned and bought Bitcoins.
So, okay, I don't think we're going to go too deep in what's happened the past few days because we could probably stay here all night.
Yeah.
But also there is now blockchain cash. And there's blockchain...
Bitcoin Cash.
Sorry. Good one. And then Bitcoin Gold launching on the 17th. So what is this? I mean, it's...
Yeah, so everyone, maybe not everyone, but many people want to be the Bitcoin. They want to be the new Bitcoin. So you can see Bitcoin was a success, and they want to be the next Bitcoin. So even 3 years ago, this happened 3 years ago, but then it was called altcoins. So they took the Bitcoin source code, they copy it and make a tweak, and tried to say, okay, so this is the new Bitcoin with a tweak. And now it's the same, but now they take not only the source code of Bitcoin, they also take the ledger, the blockchain, all the transactions. So in one go, they get all the users Bitcoin have, and basically try to get the same success. And this is, from my perspective, of course, I mean, some of these projects are really good. They really have an area to fulfill. But most of it is just, come on. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of what I've understand the SegWit was supposed to be more scalable, right?
Yeah.
But then, it was kind of dividing communities.
Yeah. So the biggest problem with Bitcoin today is it roughly 3 to 4 transactions a second, which is not many transactions. So the debate has been going on for the past 3 years. Okay, how do we improve? How do we increase the number of transactions in the system? So SegWit is just a technical, really interesting way to get more information at the same size of data, basically. But it's not enough. It will give you 60% more. So from 3 and 4, you get maybe 5 and 6. So Bitcoin Cash, they said, okay, let's increase the limit from 1 megabyte to 8 megabytes. So it will give you 800% more. But it's not going to solve anything. It solved the problem today. But if you look at Visa, MasterCard, I mean, they have thousands of transactions a minute or maybe per second during Christmas times. So Bitcoin needs to find a tool how to really scale up. How do we make 1 million transactions per second?
Yeah, and be more commercial in that way as well.
Yeah. But I have full confidence that we will find a solution. It's a big community all over the world, thousands of developers, and internet has the same problem like 20, 30 years ago. So the combination of TCP and IP was like the magical trick. How do we get internet to scale? How do we have a network of 5 billion people to communicate with each other? And they invented the router, Cisco, and Bitcoin will have the same journey, but we don't know how yet. So,
but it's interesting as well. I was spent some time in Indonesia a year ago, and I was in this Bitcoin group. We met once a week, and they were really like so passionate about spreading it, and they were like working with everything from small restaurants to little like beach clubs to be like, hey, Bitcoin, you need to accept Bitcoin. So it's really, I mean, like you say, with the internet. Which leads on to another interesting thing. So there's a lot of, I mean, particularly like the past few years, the press loves to write,
good stories.
So there is this, for everyone who's not Swedish, is something called Uppdrag Granskning, which is like a undercover documentary thing. And I think like every episode, it's like and the criminals use Bitcoin. It's
yes.
like, it's always very
course.
dark.
I'm the biggest criminal in Sweden.
Exactly, like here we are, wow. So what do you say, like, and I mean, like, my mom is here, and she's very, like, a bit skeptic,
Yeah.
What do you say to that, like, and I think it was the same, like, with the internet, so.
Of course. I mean, in the early days of the internet, it was the same. Like, okay, why do you do business over internet? You're a shady person. You should meet face to face. And actually, my favorite analogy is the car. So when the car was invented, one of the biggest issue the car industry had was that people were saying, why would you need a vehicle that fast? Obviously, it's only if you're a bank robber. And this was a real problem. They had so much resistance because there were only the bank robbers and the thieves who would use a car. And today all of us have a car, so it's ridiculous. And Bitcoin is the same. It's like, why would you need Bitcoin? It's only like a criminal who would send a transaction that goes within a second all over the world and is not really traceable. But now it is kind of traceable, but that's when Bitcoin came, that was not the case, but now it's in between.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you see? So we talked a little bit about, like, in terms of investment, you say still, we should still go there, and there's obviously, so what about all these other cryptocurrencies? I mean, they're all kind of different. There's tons of them now, and then Bitcoin is the biggest one, and you have Ethereum,
Litecoin, Ripple, there's tons of them. So basically, what I say is all of them have a shot of becoming really big, and what I believe is 95% of all the cryptocurrencies and crypto tokens we see today will not be here in 3 years. Basically, it's like a startup. I don't want to be harsh, but 95% of you guys will fail. So you need to try again. Or maybe 90, it depends. Uppsala has a better rate. But anyway, so have that in mind when you invest in something. Bitcoin has been around for more than 9 years, so it has already succeeded and will continue doing so. But some of the other cryptocurrencies will not. So when you do your investment, spread.
So you want to end that spread around, like normal investment, basically, normal investment portfolio.
But entire cryptocurrency field is growing. So most of the times, it doesn't matter what you invest in. If you just invest in 10 different currencies, within a year you will probably make, okay, I cannot say this, but you'll probably double your money. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But I mean, it could go down.
Of
Everything
course.
has
I mean,
cycles.
it's like I say right now, but we'll see. It's been record high to a,
Probably.
And another interesting thing is, like, so we're talking about, like, the Bitcoin break the bank. So what really break my bank if I invest, but also the actual banks.
Yes.
Because like you said, your handläggare, the guide who was angry at his bank. Like, what's going to look like in the future with banks?
The banks have a big challenge right now. They 2008 they had a really big challenge. So people generally don't like their bank, and maybe now it's a little bit better, but a few years ago it was terrible. And so they need to figure out, okay, how do we keep our customers? So now we have quite many banks in Sweden, and they're competing, and they invest in fintech startups to just have a better product and get more people staying with them. So just a question: how many here works in a bank today?
There's
I have few. Good. So that's good, because I think for a bank to survive, they need to be here. They need to be here and see, okay, what's really going on here? What's the next step? Because if you think about why do you use a bank today? It's basically to get your salary and get your payments done, and maybe have a mortgage. And then there are some more services. So get your salary. That could Bitcoin solve out of the box, free of charge, worldwide, and make transaction payments. Same with that, if we solve this scaling issue. So then you only have one thing left, and that's the mortgage. So the banks really need to think, okay, why are we here? What are we doing? And the old business model that the banks are selling trust. A few hundred years ago, you had a pocket of gold. maybe you were robbed, so you took it to the bank, you got a note, and that was it. So the bank covered your, I mean, they basically sold trust and security. They still do that today, but they don't take the risk. So that's the thing. They don't take the risk. You're their customer because you need them because of the service, but you don't really need them because of the security anymore. So they need to be thinking of what would we be, how would they be in a few years from now?
And also, like, interesting, how's government around the world reacting?
So,
it's very different, obviously, but So I would say Bitcoin today it's too big to fail. So one scenario would be that all the governments just ban it out of the box, like let's make it illegal. So the ecosystem is too big. I mean, it's already past Finland in the amount of money supply. So Bitcoin has more money than the entire country of Finland. Sweden is a bit more, but I would say in 3 years it's past Sweden. So it's the governments are actually looking on, okay, how come Bitcoin is so good? Why is it taking so much space in a way? And that's when they look at the blockchain technology, what it is offering. And for example, the Swedish Riksbank, they have talked about this e-krona project, which is basically a government-based cryptocurrency. And I think that's the future. I think all the fiat money or government money will be a cryptocurrency in the future. And then talking a little bit more about, what actually blockchain can do. I mean, I just saw Tech4Gs had World Food Program, and they were talking about how, they're cutting down the middlemen and saving so much money. I mean, there's so many things that is happening. And what do you, in terms of blockchain, which industries will be completely changed?
It's a good question. I mean, obviously banking and finance.
Yeah.
But if you look on, like, okay, what is the blockchain? Right now it's a very hyped word. Everyone is talking about blockchain, but what is it?
Exactly. What actually?
And I mean, it's basically just a database. It's a ledger, but it's a special ledger. It's a ledger that is public and it's open, so it's shared by everyone. So instead, if you say, okay, we have this bank, they keep track of all our money, or we have this government, they keep track of all our passports. You put them in a ledger that everyone can share. So if you show your passport, anyone can verify that it's genuine, which basically means you put the trust in the system. You make the system automated. So you don't need a government to issue passport or to verify documents. And so everything where you need a trusted third party could basically be replaced by this public shared ledger. That's the idea.
Yeah. I mean,
it's hard to,
I mean, it's hard, but it's, once you do, it's not, but it's very, like, it took me some while to be like, wait, what is this? But I'm sure there is people in the audience who has some questions. So I'm gonna try and find here we go, perfect. And I'm gonna give it to you.
And no questions are stupid. I mean, it's
exactly.
I was just wondering, can you briefly talk about ICOs? And
oh yeah, sure.
Does that work? I don't think
so. She asked if I could talk about ICOs. So ICOs is a really interesting thing. It's like crowdfunding on the blockchain. So basically what happened this winter and spring was that companies started to do crowdfunding with crypto tokens. So basically they put up a web page and said, okay, hi, we have this business idea, and we're going to do this and that. And if this company takes off, we have this token. It's called ICO, which is linked to the business idea. So maybe it's linked to revenue. So it's almost like owning a stock in a company, but it's not legally binding. So they have a limited amount of tokens that you actually could buy. And really, I mean, the idea is just, okay, you have this token, it's connected to your company, and you can sell it. Okay, so why should people buy it? But what happened is that companies who had just a small team, been around for maybe 6 months, sold their tokens for several $100 million. Compare this with Google. When they were in a garage, they got seed funding for $1 million. And now they get $200, $300 million. I mean, that's $3 billion Swedish kronor. So when some companies managed to do this, others were like, what the fuck is going on? So that all spring we had like hundreds of companies doing crowdfunding, and they got millions
it makes sense,
and
right?
millions and millions.
200 million.
And then they started trading these tokens on exchanges. So you can actually buy these tokens. Imagine buying a stock from a startup when it's in the garage. So the stock price is like 1 cent. Instead of buying it when it's on the stock exchange, maybe it's 100 kronor or 1,000 kronor. So people could have this value rise from these ICO tokens. The risk is 95% of the startup fail. So 95% of these ICOs will basically be worthless in a year or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, another question. Yes, do you mind? Maybe, I think it maybe works.
Hi, Christian.
Hi.
Couple of questions. You've used certain words like
Could you talk a bit?
Yeah, of course. You've used certain words like bet, speculation. I saw you use the word too big to fail. Bitcoin is too big to fail.
Yes.
Now, you also mentioned 2008 when all the assholes at Goldman Sachs were telling us that, hey, we're too big to fail.
Yes.
And somebody's, had to come in, step in, and well, that was an $800 billion bailout.
Yeah.
You also said that, it's like, when somebody asks you a question about ICOs, you were like, well, it's like investing in a company when it's just in the garage.
Yes.
Now, for Bitcoin, it's a great idea, right? As a child of blockchain technology, it's a wonderful idea. But how do you feel, when you think about it? How do you feel when you know that a lot of it has been hijacked in a way by speculators, right? It's a great idea if we start using that not just as a store of value, but also something that we can transact with every single day.
Yeah.
Right? But first of all, in order for this thing to survive, it has to survive way into the future. Number one, as a store of value.
Yeah.
Without a lot of volatility, and also for us to be able to use it every single day in our lives.
Yeah.
Not just using this with the keywords like invest, speculate, that kind of stuff. I mean, this sounds more like a pump and dump, penny stock, than something that is going to literally revolutionize the world and basically destroy all the fiat currency.
Yeah.
I do have a second question. Is that Tesla out there yours?
It is. Thank you. It's a very good question. I mean, to see why I'm so convinced it's too big to fail and it will continue to be here is because when I started, when Bitcoin was mostly worthless, then it really showed the potential. Then it showed like, okay, what is this? How do we use it? And it was really a peer-to-peer distributed transaction network. And you have to remember that 1/5 of the human population don't have a bank account. They're stuck with paper money or like SMS credits. For them to have a global financial system, it's huge. But as you say, we need to solve the scaling problem, because just as a store of value, then it will take the place as gold, but digital. So I really believe it has an important place to play in our future financial world, and that's to be the means of transaction without having a government fiat to depend on. Because as most of us know, the fiat money loses 95%. I like 95%, I don't know why. 95% of its value in like 30 years or something, maybe 40 years. So it's also devaluing all the time. So I think it's fair to have a global, I mean, I see it as the next world currency. I see the American dollar playing out its right. Usually a world currency is around 100 years. If you look in history, every 100 years we change the world currency, and dollar has soon been here for 100 years. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's my spontaneous thoughts.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was great. Thank you. Bye.